Hare Krishna. So we're doing an important question now. Before we did a video about some LGBT stories, and devotees were asking more particular questions, specifically how to live in the world if we are homosexual. So we can understand this kind of thing in different ways. In the Vedic scriptures, sexual life itself is described to become something gross. It said that in this world, actually, everything is permeated with lust, and we're all kind of bound to some kind of sex desire. Until we can be liberated of these lower urges, these carnal urges, we cannot really transcend this world and enter the spiritual world. So ultimately, we're trying to go from kam to prem, from lust to love, pure love. And this material lust comes in different forms, whether it's heterosexual or homosexual. Ultimately, if it's materially driven, materially full of material attachment, then it's something that's hampering our spiritual progress. So that's one thing. Now, in the Varnashram system, Krishna says in the Gita, I am that sex life or kam for the propagation of children that are brought up in a spiritual culture. So Krishna says like that. He said, if you're a proper Varnashram system marriage, and you have children, and you bring them up in spiritual culture and religious life, then Krishna says, I am that is dharmic actually. That is accepted. But the proper Vedic system for dharmic sex life, it's not so often followed perfectly, you could say. Mostly people are performing so-called illicit sex. That's breaking one of the four regs. Outside marriage or outside trying to raise good children, that's considered kind of illicit sex. Now, there's different degrees, obviously. So everyone should be. Ram, in the past time we told, Ram said that Tritiya Prakriti, like the third gender or those who do not follow the kind of common heterosexual ways, then Ram said, okay, he gave them some place in society so that they would not be ridiculed, not be criticized. So Ram said, okay, you can even bless and curse people. So if people are always abusing you, criticizing you, have the power to curse them, so people will have to respect you. So that's why we told the story of the LGBT. That kind of covered all those in the you could say, more of the outlier cases. But now in Varnashram societies, these kinds of things are not promoted or normalized. Swami Prabhupada would say, he would never accept gay marriage, for example. Prabhupada said, oh, look at these Christian priests. Now they're promoting gay marriage. They have lost their dharma. They've lost everything. They're pandering to the lower taste of the common public. He says, we should not accept vox populi. We accept vox dei, the divine opinion, not the popular opinion. So what are the scriptures teaching? So now we should understand that this has nothing to do with the Atma. We may have this kind of persuasion. It is like a temporary covering, one of the anartas or coverings of the Atma, whether you're attached to males or females or anything else. These are all one kind of covering of ahankar, false ego, and anartas. In the pure state of the soul, the Atma has divine anurag, attraction, or prem for the absolute truth. So we have to learn how to live in society and cope with whatever situation we are in. Each situation has its benefits and negative things. So, Christ would say, that person who has not sinned, he should throw the first stone. So it doesn't mean we should criticize people for whatever kind of situation they're in. But at the same time, we understand the Atma is pure. Nitya Shuddha Avyo. Prahlad Maharaj says that of the 12 symptoms of the soul, Atma Nitya Siddha Avya Shuddha. The soul is eternal, the soul is pure. So these coverings, they aren't part of the nature of the soul. These are something that come up in one lifetime or another. Generally we say that if you're like that, homosexual, usually it's like, I don't know, I haven't studied it so much, but generally they say from birth, they say like that. Who knows? But in human societies, it's described there's, in Sastra, there's 8,400,000 species of life. And it said that there's 4 lakhs or 400,000 human-like species. And it doesn't mean each species is like a race or like a different kind of human. generally it means like a different yoni includes different kinds of like a male who has very feminine traits, female who has very masculine traits, homosexuals, lesbians. It's described, these are like different yonis. They're part of the different 400,000 species of life. And you know, these are like archetypes of the human condition that the soul goes through in its journey in this samsara. You go through, you go through different animal species, you go through different human species. So these things are there. And also, ultimately, if you're homosexual, it doesn't mean you can't follow bhakti, you can't follow spiritual life. Krishna says in the Gita, Yepi Shupapionya, or Striyo Vaishyata Sudras, whatever condition one may be in, one can perform pure bhakti. And also, those who have so-called something of a more difficult path, you could say, it can ultimately help one progress more quickly in spiritual life. Tvama kinchana gochanam. Krishna is attainable by those who have developed a kinchana mood, the mood of that I'm destitute. Therefore, if you have difficulty in life, struggle in life, and you're trying to follow spiritual life, then those struggles you went through actually can help you progress more rapidly. So, now, if you look at, again, how it's being promoted in society, Gay Pride Month, and everyone has to celebrate this and glorify it, and then we have to have parades in the street where people are performing like very actually kind of depraved, acts. These things, you could say that, okay, heterosexual life is celebrated all over, movies and media and novels, and so, that other side should also be accepted. But, in Varnashram system, it wasn't glamorized. It wasn't. Nowadays, we see that this kind of agenda is being pushed more and more strongly to, not just acceptance, but promotion. And then it goes so far to say that, okay, someone who is heterosexual is very bad. Someone who has a normal white heterosexual male, it's like now you're the lowest person on the rung. You're the worst kind of person. You're the most privileged, and therefore you're so-called the worst. So the idea of like this kind of identity politics is ultimately, it's not helpful. That's also part of our Vaishnava teaching. The Vaishnava way is more like, whatever you may be, whoever you may be, however you may be, follow bhakti and try to achieve your self-realization. Try to achieve your Swarup Siddhi, your spiritual form. Then all these things will just be like a distant dream. While as long as you're attached to who you are in this so-called body, that I am this body, then that's false ego. That's based on the false ego. You have to give that up. It doesn't matter whether you think I am a white male or I am a trans species, whatever. Whatever you may think you are, the point is that we want to try to transcend this kind of egoism and realize and attain our spiritual nature and spiritual form. And so that's kind of the Vaishnava way. This is another one of those questions that you could discuss for a long time, and you could quote different things from the Bhagavata and from the scriptures, but we'll leave that for another time. Hare Krishna. Any comments, any questions, please put them down below. Hare Krishna.